Welcome to the Kegel Show. My name's Don Agent, and I'll be your host. With us today is a very special guest, all the way from Europe. He's also a very interesting young man, Kristis Sergejevas. All right, I tried not to botch that name too much. Kristis, thanks for coming out here, buddy. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You've got a pretty unique story. We're going to start out by giving the audience just a little bit of background. You originally started working at Kegel in batch testing, which is essentially that job entails a person throwing bowling balls all day, nonstop, comparing the chemicals to the different lane patterns and what have you. Right now, you pretty much focus on our lane pattern research and data collection, as well as being our social media manager. So you kind of wear quite a few hats in your short amount of time here with Kegel. Like I said, you've got an interesting story. Can you kind of tell us, start out, where are you from?
Sure. I was born in Kaunas, Lithuania, and interesting fact, bowling didn't even exist in the country when I was born, actually.
Really?
Yes. The first bowling lanes were installed in 1994, so it's a pretty young sport in my country. I started myself at around age of 10, I believe. My dad used to bring me to the bowling center like on the weekend, to kind of have fun and hang out around a little bit. I kind of started to like the sport a little bit. Then I drilled my first bowling ball, kind of started bowling some little tournaments a bit more. Kind of became successful, My parents kind of saw that I was pretty good at it. So I started bowling more. Then we had a youth division in the country. So I ended up winning a Lithuanian youth championship in 2006 and then in 2007 as well. So I had a little bit of a success as a young player. I proceeded to win the adult championship in 2008 as well.
Fantastic.
So bowling was going pretty well for me. And then I was finishing my high school and I was thinking about my future and what I was going to do next. And this whole coming to America thing showed up really, as it's a great idea, to go to college, get an education, and bowl as well.
That's
and
kind of what I was going to lead into that as well. I mean, for the audience, if y'all don't actually know where Lithuania is on a map, get a world map, and it's really right in the center of essentially Poland, Belarus, and Latvia.
That's right.
I've never been to Lithuania, but I've been to Latvia, very, very beautiful area up there. And that's kind of, literally bowling didn't exist.
Yeah.
When you were born, essentially. How did you get here? Lake Wales, Florida, man. I mean, what brought you here?
So when I won the adult championship in Lithuania in 2008, I had a chance to go to the European Champions Cup in Greece at that time, which was in 2009. I went to that tournament. I actually bowled really well in that tournament. And I met one of the coaches, who is Sid Allen. You probably know him pretty well.
Very well, very, very tough.
He was actually the one that recommended me to come here to Webber and Kegel. By then, I didn't really have an idea what Kegel was, to be honest. I started doing some research, and I found out that I want to come to this place since it's, the best training facility you can find, and I'm not gonna get that anywhere else. And I want to pursue my bowling career and get better at it. So I just applied for Webber. I passed all my tests and ended up being here with no visiting, nothing. I just got thrown into this world like this and packed up my luggage in, I think, the summer of 2010 and came here for the fall semester.
And let's cut there because it got kind of interesting. I mean, obviously you bowled, for the Webber team, and but there was a point where we thought you weren't going to be able to stay, essentially, correct? I mean, I remember you going, man, I might have to go home and not come back. And what essentially happened with that? I mean, was that in the middle of your college term?
No, it was actually right after I graduated. Okay. So I went through my 4 years of college here. I had a pretty successful college career, I would say. I ended up winning a championship with the Webber team in 2012.
Yep.
So after I graduated, I had a year to actually figure out my life pretty much, if I wanted to stay here or if I wanted to do something back home. So during that year, I actually started working for Kegel, and that's where I started batch testing. However, after the year expired, legally I couldn't really stay in the country anymore, so I had to
Sure.
fix my visa and all that stuff. So I actually had to go home for a year while Kegel was helping me to, get a new visa for me. That way I can come back and actually start working again. So that was the whole story.
How does your family feel about that? Obviously, they miss you. I mean, you're quite a ways away from them. But
My mom is very happy of me being here, really.
Okay.
She really wanted me to do well, and she knows that I'm happy here. Of course, she would like me to be here or there with her, and
Sure.
kind of help her out a little bit. But I'm sure deep down inside of her, she knows that I'm happy here, and she's always welcome here in Florida. I mean, you always want to be here.
It's a nice place
to be, especially in winter. So. I think she's doing fine. I'm very thankful for her to actually, giving me this opportunity to be here. Because without her, I wouldn't really be here, in the first place. College is pretty expensive here.
Absolutely.
I could have gotten a free education probably somewhere in Europe. However, I chose to come here, and my mom had, a full support for me, and I'm really thankful for that. So
goes back to good parenting, man, without a doubt. You've got really kind of a very interesting job here. I mean, we'll kind of leave the social media out of it, but for our audience that may not know, I mean, part of the reasons for we feel our success and consistency with especially our chemical line is we're not only just doing scientific tests and analytical tests, but we utilize human beings to literally go out and bowl on those tests. And you started doing that, but now you're really doing a whole bunch of other research for us. Can you kind of take us through some of the things that you currently work on here and some of the comparative tests that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I mainly, like you said, I do a lot of research now. I use all of our conditioners. I use some of the competitors' conditioners as well.
Mm-hmm.
I try to compare them. I try to understand how a bowling ball really behaves on a lane. I really try to understand that a bit better than anyone else. And since I still believe there's a lot to discover and understand, when it comes to ball motion and
Definitely.
how much resistance oil really creates for the bowling ball, and how much it slows down in a certain spot, how much energy it stores in the back end. There's so many things that you can really look into it, and that's really what I focus on. I also try to understand how a different conditioner goes through our machine.
Mm-hmm.
Does it flow through the machine a bit quicker? Does it flow through the machine a bit slower? Because I think that's important. We can probably create better patterns if we really knew more about it. So
if you can get it to drop to the lane quicker or slower and change that application through the viscosity or the flow of the oil versus through drive speeds, that would open up a whole other realm.
As a bowler, I'm very interested in that. I really want to. I'm still learning, of course, and
Sure.
I want to learn as much as I can for myself as a bowler, since I think that can give me a pretty good advantage. But I also think it's something that's very interesting and would be very beneficial for the company and for the whole bowling industry.
And you still compete quite a bit, don't you? I mean,
That's
you get out
right.
to some tournaments and,
That's right.
and hit the circuit, obviously. Do you, let's go right to that. I mean, where do you see yourself in the bowling world 10 years from now?
I still want to bowl as much as I can.
Great.
And it's, again, Kegel is, a great company and a great place to be if you're a bowler. They always support me going to tournaments, and I'm very appreciative of that. I plan on trying a few PBA events. I really want to try that. It's one of my dreams, really. There wasn't a single Lithuanian that ever bowled a PBA event, so I kind of want to be the first one to really try that.
Too cool.
So next year I actually plan on going to the World Series, maybe do some other tournaments, regionals, of course. I bowled them last year, I'm bowling them next year, so that doesn't change. But lastly, what I really want to do is I really want to win a medal for my country. No one has ever won a medal in a bowling sport, and I really want to do that, whether it's a European medal, whether it's a world championship medal,
stage, sure.
anything, but I really would like to do that, and I will try to pursue that dream as much as I can.
What an awesome goal. Absolutely awesome goal. All right, how about, this may be a tough one, but somebody you admire in the bowling industry, whether it's a bowler, a figurehead, a coach, somebody that you aspired to be like.
Yeah. It's kind of a difficult question. When I was growing up and when I started bowling myself, I didn't really have bowlers as my idols.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see many PBA telecasts as much as I can see on the internet. Of course, I liked a few bowlers, but I think it was more of the way they threw the ball physically,
Okay.
or what they achieved or whatsoever. I liked a few bowlers, of course. I can't really say that I have really, my hero or someone that I really follow after. Like,
Okay.
I really tried to be myself the way I am. The only thing I could really say is probably my coach that really got me into the next level.
Perfect. Who was that?
And he was a coach from Sweden, Robert Andersson.
Oh, yes, I know him.
I would really mention him as,
Good.
my kind of mentor.
Hello to
and-
you, Robert, if you're out there listening, buddy.
That's right. He was definitely the one that kind of made me go to the next level when it comes to bowling. Of course, it was prior to me coming to Webber, which Kegel, of course, changed the whole game
Sure.
again of myself. But he was the one that really got me into bowling more and bowling bigger tournaments and actually, doing really well at the bigger tournaments. So I'm always going to be thankful for him.
Fantastic. You got any plans for Christmas? You staying here, going back
No,
home?
I'm
or-
actually going home for
yeah.
Christmas this time. I haven't been home in a year now, over a year actually. So I'll spend Christmas at home this year, and I'll be back after in a year.
If you get by Poland, get a pierogi for me, man. I
Okay.
love them. Love them. Listen,
All right.
absolute pleasure, Kristis. Thanks for coming on with us.
My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for today's show. Keep those wrenches turning and have a wonderful day.